Welcome, everyone, to another episode of They Might Be Self-Aware. I am Hunter Powers, joined by...
Daniel Bishop.
Daniel, how goes it?
It's going really well, and we've got a fun one for you here today.
Tell me about it.
Nice, light, upbeat one, a bit.
Put on
After we get through a couple of other things first, perhaps. We're going to talk early on in the episode about Tesla, and we might have full self-driving right around the corner, not just for yourself, but sending your car off to be a taxi that just brings in the dough while you sleep on the couch, perhaps. Or maybe Papa Elon is just sending us on another detour.
I'm not sure how happy that is, but maybe a little happier.
The good stuff.
A Nobel Prize has gone to, actually 2 Nobel Prizes have gone to AI pioneers. We'll discuss and whether or not the next Nobel Prize might go to the AI itself.
And AI-powered drones finding missing hikers. I think we can all stand behind that as a positive, even if maybe in the article that we're going to discuss, it did technically happen a little too late.
And related to that, Meta's Segment Anything library seems to be equipping some of these drone operators with new AI abilities. It's all up next because you are listening to...
They might be self-aware.
You were going to get a Rivian. You turn your back on Uncle Elon and Tesla, and you were going full... I think you spit on the ground, and there was a dance or something. A face paint. I remember face paint very vividly.
I don't know if there was face paint.
Maybe that was something else. But you were getting a Rivian. Did that happen? Are you Rivian? Rivianized?
I'm Rivianized. Yeah. So I traded in the Tesla. Yeah. Wonderful car. I really liked my Model 3. I wanted to try something out that was new. I wanted to maybe distance myself.
The 3 had the doors that go like this. It wasn't the one with the doors like this.
Yeah, the Gold Wing doors is the Model X.
Okay.
But yeah, I wanted to try something new, something a little bigger. And I don't think that I'm firmly in the pro Elon Musk camp, perhaps. I used to be a little bit more pro in sort of what he was kind of going for. And the last few years have somewhat dissuaded me of that notion.
You didn't like his dance on stage at a recent political rally?
No, I did not.
Whose name we won't mention?
No, I did not.
But let's go back to Rivian. You like it? I think it's a cool looking car. I have not driven one or ridden in one yet, but...
Yeah, beautiful car. It feels good to drive. It's definitely a larger vehicle than a Model 3, so it drives differently. You can kind of feel sort of the weightiness to it. It feels like a pretty premium product. I will say, being a younger company than Tesla, but still trying to be super, super tech heavy, there are some software rough edges that happen every now and then. Like I actually had it reboot the infotainment display while I was driving, which was a little scary. It kept driving fine. That never happened to me in the Tesla. It happened to me in the Rivian already, and it happened in the Chevy Bolt that I had previous to the Tesla. So it's not, sometimes there's a glitch and you got to turn the thing off and turn it back on. Maybe it happened a bunch of times in the Tesla, but their backup system looks just like the regular one. I don't know. There's lots of ways to kind of obfuscate this kind of thing. A couple of other very minor little issues, but it's a young company. I wanted to try and do what I could for Rivian. Maybe not quite that. I really like the look of the vehicles and really, really wanted one. They have autonomous driving as well, like the Teslas. It's not at the same level. Is it
like the Teslas, though? No.
It's like the Teslas. It's not as good.
So it's Tesla not just highway.
It is just highways. Okay. It's specifically just highways, and not even all of them all the time. Especially if there's been recent construction, they haven't mapped it out right. Or
they have to scan it version of the which I hear is substantially better, but of course
it does a great job when it's available.
Yeah,
just like the Model 3 does a great job when it's available for its base level of autonomy. And I've talked on this previously. They gave me a free 1-month trial of the more enhanced version. I didn't like that one a lot. I really didn't like that one. It it really needed way more sort of white knuckle hands on the thing because it was kind of try and do some weird stuff. Was not a big fan of that enhanced level of autonomy that Tesla offered for a while. The base one, though, of look, it's smart cruise control and it'll keep you in a lane even if that lane is kind of moving around a little bit. That was great. And it would work on most, I think, like surface streets as well. You would just have to be the one to stop it at the stop signs and stoplights and whatever and do the actual turns. Super fine with that. That worked really well. The Rivian doesn't do any of that. It does it just on highways, which is fine. I don't feel myself really needing to take my hands off the wheel at 25 miles per hour in a residential zone, for example.
Yeah, there was an article recently that suggested that drivers using the Tesla full self-driving have to correct on average 12 times an hour, make some sort of a human intuition.
I think I saw something that said every 13 miles on average.
Okay.
I would believe that, if only because most of those miles are being driven on highways where it already does really well.
Yeah.
Because even on highways, I found myself having to take off from that like enhanced ability really often. For the regular one, I barely ever had to take over, or depending on what they'd count as like taking over, would really just be me disengaging it because I'm coming up to a stop sign. Which I don't count that as disengaging now. I count that as it worked fine for the space that was allotted to it. And then I turned it off because it was time to not be using it anymore.
Well, the rumors are that Uncle Elon has ingested all the training data that you so graciously provided him during your free trial, and that later today he will announce the final completion of autonomous driving.
The Death Star.
Yeah, likely with some kind of taxi offering, potentially not for individuals initially. They'll have some corporate taxi offering, but moving closer to his vision, which he pitched many, many years ago, that your Tesla will work for you while you are sleeping at night.
Now, you said tomorrow he's going to announce that this is happening. In 2019,
he announced that it was happening in the next 6 months or something.
Among other times, Musk promised, specifically in 2019, said that full self-driving capable vehicles were going to be able to make money for their owners by operating on a Tesla network to chauffeur people around. You know, the exact robo-taxi thing that you just said is allegedly happening later today. He promised that 1 million robo-taxis would be driving around by 2020. And as I understand it, there are 5 levels of recognized autonomy. I don't know if that's legally or otherwise in the United States. I think there is like a legal definition for them. But Tesla's level 2, I'm pretty sure. I don't know if that's the base one or the like enhanced one. Maybe that's a 3 or something. Surely a full-on robo-taxi is level 5, where you're not even up front. The thing is driving itself.
And I don't know, because Waymo is probably the most famous, popular, full self-driving taxi service today, because you can go to San Francisco and book a Waymo. Anyone can book. Actually, I don't know that it's anyone, but you can go and get a
You're not allowed to have so many felonies on your record, kind of thing.
A Waymo taxi, but there's still a human. There's a heavy amount of human in the loop with the Waymo taxis. There's someone monitoring it. There's someone that will, remote into the car with the, smallest issue. And so I don't know that that's still considered a level 5. I don't, maybe it is, but in my mind, it's not, because there's a heavy amount of human in the loop still.
Right. SAE, which has a lot of standards, I think that's what the S stands for, has a standard called J3016. Levels of driving automation. There's 6 of them. Level 0, there's none of it. Level 5, there's all of it. It can drive the vehicle under all conditions is level 5. Period. So level 5 is, I'd say, frankly, better than many people, because I used to live in Buffalo, New York, and every time you get that first snow of the year, a lot of people are not level 5 drivers. But level 4 is a local driverless taxi. That's a specific example feature that SAE says for J3016 level 4 local driverless taxis, which implies I'm not going to get into this and pretend it's a Greyhound and have it take me to Schenectady from Austin. And the pedals and steering wheel may or may not be installed. So an implication of like, there aren't them, but it isn't everything all the time. So this is a jump from 2, which Tesla has, and 4. Example features: lane centering, adaptive cruise control at the same time, steering and brake acceleration support to drive. So that's SAE level 2. I'd say that the Tesla Model 3 base has that. And then level 3 is where they start to have, it's a different color on the infographic. Maybe we'll share this with you all. What does the human in the driver's seat have to do? SAE level 3. You are not driving when these automated features are engaged, even if you're seated in the driver's seat. Level 3, when the feature requests, you have to drive. 4 and 5. So I think that that's a fairly large jump, is to get from that 2 to 3 or 2 to 4. Driverless taxis is a 2 to 4. Sure, that's only 2 numbers higher, but there's a lot involved in doing that. And I guess you're about to ask me, like, do I regret getting rid of my robo-taxi that could go drive around and get me some cash?
I mean, you're practically in tears.
I give it a no % chance of actually happening. He's going to get a 0 to none % chance of this actually happening as you're currently envisioning it. It might be level 3. Maybe there's a 3.5. I saw what they had available. That was the beta, highest level, whatever that they've made accessible in any form to outside people. Of course, they're working on something internally that's supposed to be better. Not instilled with a lot of confidence. I would not step into a Tesla robotaxi.
If they are able to do it, a couple of the significant things would be, I guess, that the Teslas don't have LiDAR, whereas the competitors, the Waymo Robo Cruise, heavily utilize LiDAR.
Right. Tesla's full in on cameras. And then the second part is the Waymos only operate in areas where they have fully scanned and ingested, versus Tesla's more generic solution. Waymo might send you down a wrong alley every now and then, like we talked about, and then the cops don't know who to ticket. Speaking of liability, if you listen to our last episode, you can hear about. All right. Anyway, right. I do think that Waymo has the leg up right now, but that's not to say that a competitor can't make that next big leap forward. We've seen this with every other type of AI where here's the latest, greatest thing. This is really amazing. Wham! Somebody comes out of left field and just does better. Of course, the technology is going to continue to get better. I don't feel great about a Tesla full self-driving vehicle right now.
All right.
For 2 reasons. 1, I wouldn't trust it given what I've seen already. And 2, we've been promised this exact same thing before. Maybe Tesla needs a stock bump for a bit. Maybe Elon just hasn't made this particular promise every now and then, and he's contractually obligated to pretend that full self-driving is just around the corner every now and then. Whatever it is, I super duper don't think that it's happening.
Maybe I just want to believe.
I'm bullish on a lot of AI technology getting better and being more amazing on a day-to-day basis because it keeps happening. This one, I don't think we're there. I super don't. Do we have Tesla semis yet? I know they were working on those for a while. Weren't those supposed to be, again, speaking of self-driving, like the idea of for the long haul portion, you're just going down Route 66 or whatever, you can be asleep in the back and it'll wake you up whenever it's time to do the last mile type stuff?
I feel like they have started delivery, but I don't know if that's true.
I live pretty close to the Tesla factory. I haven't seen a single one.
Tesla began delivering the first Tesla semis in December of 2022.
Huh.
And I know that I've seen some interviews with drivers saying that they really like them, but I don't believe that they have the full self-driving capabilities.
I wouldn't say any of them do.
It's mainly just the benefits of being an electric vehicle and one of the first
And I guess
semi-trucks.
An electric semi probably, I mean, I say this without knowing anything about the semis. I didn't think they were delivering them. It's probably for last mile type stuff as opposed to like long haul. trips?
I don't know.
Yeah, fair enough. Maybe we'll look into it, become more self-aware, and let you know.
I can hardly wait.
Well, AI is pushing forward. And it's pushing forward the boundaries of science in ways, at times. I don't think full self-driving is one of those ways, and I don't think it's the time for it either. But what it is time for is people, not AI, but people to be winning Nobel Prizes for coming up with AI. There are actually 2 Nobel Prizes that were recently awarded that are highly, highly related to AI. One of them for physics, for foundational work on some AI algorithms. I want to talk about that one. It's amazing. Congratulations to the people who won it. I want to talk about that. I want to talk about the Nobel Prize in chemistry, because I don't know almost anything about chemistry, but I do know chemistry is used to make things, and I like things. DeepMind, we've talked about this company a couple of times. Its CEO, Demi Hassabis, please forgive me, DeepMind CEO, for utterly butchering your name.
Google acquired DeepMind. Am I remembering this?
I think
correctly?
so, yeah.
And then it was kind of like,
it's Google DeepMind now.
Yeah, it's thought of as like sort of the foundation of Google AI is DeepMind. I don't think, of course, they had AI before then, but that was their big acqui-hire.
Yes, and then a senior DeepMind research scientist, John Jumper. These two received... Johnny Jumper, we calls him. We don't call him that. They received the Nobel Prize in chemistry for creating the open source, now I don't think it necessarily was immediately off the bat, AlphaFold 2 AI model. And what that does is it helps calculate the structure of human proteins. Quote, with its help, they have been able to predict the structure of virtually all of the 200 million proteins that researchers have identified, the Nobel Committee at the Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences said in its announcement. That's nuts. As I understand it, poorly, because I'm very bad with chemistry, but having read a couple of articles about it.
I saw Breaking Bad.
Yeah. And you know what? That's chemistry. And is, from what I understand, this is this kind of work that they did that AlphaFold now makes doable, which is AI. It's not necessarily a generative AI of like making images and videos and text, but it is still in the AI space, the machine learning space. This would have taken forever to do previously, years and years and years to do for like one protein to estimate how it folds up and does whatever proteins do, is now just like a really quick sort of process. That is great by virtue of helping make new medicines or helping identify things associated with cancers or a lot of use cases that I am absolutely not qualified to talk about. But what I am qualified to talk about is seeing really big number turn into really small number for time is awesome. And so I think that this is amazing that they won the Nobel Prize. It's really nice to see some pretty much objectively good news in the AI space. Because we always talk about big caveats and here's the privacy concerns and here's this and here's that. I think something that's going to help us figure out how to make more medicines more quickly, more accurately. That one feels like just kind of a net win.
Unless you
an
take
absolute win. There's
bioterror angle.
Okay, right. Until someone makes double super anthrax with it.
Yes, double super anthrax.
You found not the silver lining.
That's a great mug, by the way.
I'm drinking out of a they might be self-aware mug. We don't have a merch store, and this isn't like go to this link and you can get one, but Hunter cooked up a couple of them on Shutterfly and sent one over to me. Maybe if a bunch of people start clamoring for it, we'll make the designs and whatever accessible. But yes, official branded.
And anthrax free.
And I sure hope so. Looking into the mug now. So anyway, I think there are a lot of these AI related articles, whether it be here's how much power it's sucking down or here's how it could be used for privacy concerns or this or that. I really feel like being able to calculate how human proteins fold, it's so hard I'm sure somebody's going to find a way to make that a bad thing. They're going to make double mega anthrax.
Oh, we make everything a bad thing. If it bleeds, it leads. So that we always focus on that, right?
Sure.
That's our mantra on this show.
But this one feels pretty much like just kind of a win. And I'm really happy to be able to talk about that. I want there to be more medicines or more. Well, in the last episode, we were talking about 23andMe and how they might be in some financial trouble and what happens if they sell all of their data to whoever, and then there are bad actors that could get access to that. So there's concerns in that sort of space. But what about the personalization of medicine? What if the kinds of things that were literally not doable just a few years ago could become here's a cheek swab, put it into the computer. One day later, you get like a specialized serum that's going to help take care of your specific cancer. These kinds of things are only doable by virtue of these kinds of software that can chug through immense numbers of possibilities in a very short amount of time. So in terms of the future is now, I am extremely excited about this kind of technology.
Any ideas about what comes next? Like, what's the next evolution of this? Where do we go?
Yeah, I think that's a very good question. And so you could say, is it going to help identify medicines, like an entire specific medicine formulation? There are already things working along those kinds of lines. That's not what the next evolution is for me. The next evolution, in my mind, is that we are forced to give the Nobel Prize to the AI. Just because in the United States you're not allowed to copyright or patent or trademark or whatever things made by an AI, I think the international community is going to be sort of forced into saying, okay, so these scientists hooked up this thing to the biosynthesis whatever machine and gave it a robot arm and kept it stocked. And there were humans around to like, oh, it accidentally knocked over the thing, we'll put it back. But like an AI being in charge of from ideation through it made a pill that someone can take to cure their cancer or whatever. A few years out, 5 years out, 2, 10, 50. I don't think it's like 50. I don't think it's 10. I think it's like 5-ish years or less.
I'd take the over on that. I could see AI being the like time person of the year.
I think there's going to be a lab where the scientists are like, okay, it's not just coming up with the thing. We made a specific machine that will mix the whatevers together. Yeah. It's basically a fancy version of those coffee machines that are always broken in like airports that are supposed to it just makes a coffee for you. I don't know why those are always broken. But just drip. That's besides the point. The point is, give an AI a body. And we've talked about that embodiment of a consciousness. Does that count more toward like personhood or not? I do think if we say this lab was the AI in that like there is a computer running it, the mind, and then its arms, whether they be physical arms or just like tubes squirting out the goo into the machine that spins around or whatever. But like, let the AI be all of those. Give it the sensors, give it the ability to turn on and off the hot plates and move the thing from stage 1 to stage 2. And at that point, you can't really say the AI didn't come up with, like, if it actually says, boop, and here's a pill that someone can take, and it proves that it destroys cancer in this circumstance, or it turns tuberculosis into not, I don't know, something. And it's probably in the medical field, but there's going to be some kind of obvious leap forward that a person basically didn't touch. People will have set up the lab. Somebody owns the facility, etc. There are going to be researchers that programmed the whatever. But frankly, when it came time to say, all right, I just read all of the recent research and I've got an idea. Let's try and make formulation XYZ 1547. And that works. You have to give the Nobel Prize to the AI at that point. You got to do it. And I think that is around the corner, like a few years away.
Related to DeepMind, I'm thinking about AlphaGo, the Google project to build the best Go player in the world. And we do now say that the best Go player in the world is an AI agent. We accept that. And so why can't we accept
the game a little bit?
The like best there were scientist.
There were certain techniques that it did where the best Go players were like, why would you do that? Oh, because it leads to you winning. And like it uncovered new techniques in a game that's existed for forever.
But I think the important part is that we accept the idea that this AI agent is the best Go player. And so how big of a leap is it for us to accept that the best research scientist is this AI agent, whether it has a body or not. And once we accept that, it must then be a short leap to it being able to receive a Nobel Prize.
I would say, for those of you who are listening, I'm going to do like a cool turn to the camera here.
Oh, wow.
It's a tough pill to swallow.
Okay. You just need the sunglasses.
That was way better than you gave it credit for, Hunter. Yeah, I think that it's
it was exactly as good as I give it.
I think that it is going to be something that people feel kind of icky about. And maybe for the first one, the AI doesn't get it. It's just the researchers that program the thing, or it's the guy who owns the lab.
You brought me around. I was, no, but now I
But then
agree
people
with
are going to say, no, the AI deserved it in this case. And then we need a robot lawyer that's going to represent the robot lab in court to sue for having won the prize in the first place. And then things get really weird.
I think that was an episode of Futurama, but I'll ignore
and we
that.
talked about the robot dog
the reporter, yes.
on the scene as the reporter. So we're going to see a robot dog in a courtroom while there's a big humanoid robot walking back and forth. Now tell me, it's got the full Southern gentleman sort of, I may be just a simple silicon lawyer, but imagine the case law that it could start to draw the connections between.
I was going to say that it could hallucinate.
And it could hallucinate. You're going to have to be live fact checking.
Imagine the case law that it could hallucinate. As I believe some lawyers have already learned as they plug their cases into ChatGPT and ask for legal filings.
That's right. Now, going back more toward, I'm not going to exactly say it's positive news. It's positive news adjacent.
All right. And not sure what that means, but okay.
You'll find out in a sec. Regarding AI being able to do things that humans can't, or can't at scale, or can't fast enough. Some people put together drone software to help in a search and rescue effort that had been going on for quite some time. And drone with special AI software found the guy. The reason why I said that this one is not necessarily a super happy story is the guy was dead, and the search involving the AI powered drones only started, I think, like multiple weeks into the search effort. And this is not, again, AI in the sense that most people are thinking about it these days of making pictures and videos and generative text. It wasn't a chatbot put into a DJI drone and flown around and said, I think I see this person. It was an algorithm that's looking for like colors out of place, depending on what the other colors are around it. What I imagine is the same sort of software that probably already exists for this, but they did a clever, specific new thing with it, I guess. The man who was lost, in both senses of the word lost, I suppose, was wearing like a lightish brown top and dark blue trousers. And so for humans looking at like pictures, especially if there might be a stream nearby, and light brown in the woods is going to be sort of hard to pick out. Very tough. But this is the exact kind of thing that machine learning is made for, literally and figuratively made for. Take a bunch of pictures, scan a whole area, even use like intelligent pathing to figure out where a person's most likely to be traveling, for example, but then use that to try and narrow down the set of possibilities. As with AlphaFold, you take a gigantic possibility set and then you narrow it down to a place where people can then take over and say, from this small number of things, okay, great, this is the path forward. It's really nice to see ML being used to not fire a bunch of journalists or artists, but rather to speed up what would have taken too much manpower to be a feasible, reasonable thing.
Do you know if they were using a thermal camera, or was it literally
No,
just
I think this was like images.
Okay.
Thermal wouldn't have worked for the guy who'd been dead for over a week at that point. But yeah, I realized that what I said could still be associated with like, okay, it would take a long time for a bunch of concept artists to make concept art for this movie. Yes, I do think that creativity aspect, though, is, and we've talked plenty about like, they are more creative at art than the average person, certainly more than me. But to really try and separate out, is it a human creativity versus not thing? This is you have a lot of existing real world possibilities, something already exists, which is to say a zillion pictures of a forest or of a hiking trail or of whatever. And you need to find something, or it be here's proteins and basically infinite ways that they could fold up. A person could hand calculate this. A person could whatever. ML at its best, I think, is going to be taking a large set of possibilities and then squoosh it down into one output or a way smaller number of outputs that people could like sift through. I've made systems in the past that would take, here is categorization. You know, here's a news article. Is it one of these 600 plus different categories? That's too many. Period. Just that's too many different categories for something. A person, a highly trained person, could do 50 pretty easily, I think. 600 plus, woof, that's tough. ML doesn't even have to say it's this one. It could just say it's one of these 10, and that becomes way easier for a person to kind of sift through. Machine learning, AI, I think is at its best when it's helping people, when it's as an augmentative tool. And so the couple of things I've been talking about here, whether it be the Nobel Prize in chemistry or this drone software that's like finding people when people looking around or even taking other aerial images couldn't find them. This is where I see machine learning, AI, ML and machine learning, same thing. This is where I see them as being the most relevant and useful, like objectively useful for the future.
All I heard was we're putting hound dogs out of a job. We no longer need to send the dogs in to find people. I have seen a lot of things related to drones for this purpose and other purposes, where a lot of people are now leveraging. Meta released a segmentation library, open source. If you want to read about it, I just looked it up. It's segment-anything.com. But I've seen this being paired with a lot of drones to identify all of the kind of random things that you could possibly see. Then typically they send that information back to some central server to process what's going on, where they are leveraging generative AI and large language models to figure out what to do next. So there is a Gen AI angle here, not in this particular case, but that I've seen a lot of people investigating and posting little cool demos as we continue our flight towards self-awareness and happiness. Daniel wants more happiness. Be happy. Well, if you're happy, you should definitely like and subscribe and express the pure joy that is listening to They Might Be Self-Aware. We will be back next week with another episode, whether it is on YouTube or Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you listen to your podcasts. We are in most directories. Just search for They Might Be Self-Aware. And until next time,
They might be self-aware.